We are multidimensional beings, and now is the time to allow that expansion of perspective to truly manifest, because we are in a time where we are increasingly asked to become sovereign. And what that means is that we have to trust our inner peace, our inner wisdom that we all come with, and reconnect with that remembrance. And galactic astrology is opening us up to a bigger perspective. Welcome to New Light Living Podcast. I'm Ulrika Sullivan. I'm an intuitive spiritual life coach and a galactic astrologer. This video is a galactic astrology reading of the Leo new moon solar eclipse at 20 degrees 2 minutes on August 12th, 2026. Welcome. What I do in these videos, I put an outer layer of fixed stars, celestial bodies, and galactic points to the traditional Western tropical astrology wheel. And that is to help us to expand our perspective of who we truly are and tap into our bigger self, as I call it, and link into the collective energies from that perspective. So this expansion is going to become more evident. This transit of the nodal axis in Aquarius and Leo are really going to put us in for the, I wouldn't say test, but the opportunity to align with our true nature, our sovereign self, and create that new reference point within, so that we can move through the evolution that is coming next for this expansion. The Leo solar eclipse at 20 degrees of Leo is in sextile with the Lepus constellation and the fixed star Nihal at 20 degrees of Gemini. And the ruler of this solar eclipse in Leo is the sun at 20 degrees of Leo. So this solar eclipse is all about fire. And fire, when it comes to the sign of Leo, is courage. It's the courage to connect with our heart frequency and stay with that reference point, no matter what happens. And that creates a freedom, an inner peace that we are now invited to truly manifest within. And the results of that will unfold over the next 10 years, because this is the last eclipse in Leo for the next 10 years. The next eclipse we have in Leo is in February 2036. So that's 10 years from now. And we are offered a long-term path to come into sovereignty within, that connection with our own inner peace, our own truth. And this is quite some time. We may think 10 years, but in universal, in the quantum field, 10 years is like a second. So this is also a marker for how important the sign of Leo and the fire of that sign and the guidance of the sign of Leo at this time, because we also have the South Node in Leo at 29 degrees of Leo. And it's going to be very telling over the next 18 months what that South Node in Leo is going to unearth within us, but also out in the collective as a mirror to our inner state. So let's dive into this Leo new moon solar eclipse, which is really a marker for this heart-centered, multidimensional way of being that we all are from the beginning, but that we're now increasingly reconnecting with. And what this means may be that we are now asked to truly stand up for ourselves as an individual, first of all. And that is mostly standing up for ourselves in front of ourselves, going against the grain of the collective sometimes for the conviction that we hold as our own truth. And that is a significant path to walk to come to that place. And what it may mean that something we are completely resonating with, that is our truth, We have to take that and go against the grain and champion it in front of the collective, something that is in opposition with social expectations, for example. So this may look different for each one of you in your lives, but what it really means is that the courage that it takes to champion something that we feel is our own truth, even if the collective is on another path. This is what sovereignty means. It can also mean that we are unearthing our shadow self to a deeper level at this time. And what that may mean is that the unearthing of shadow aspects of ourselves, we're also invited to learn from them and sticking with it to champion our own evolution within our own soul growth path. And part of it is also to champion this through our own journey and sticking with it. That may take different expressions for ourselves personally and may not be visible on the outside. But sovereignty means also that we have the courage within to stick with our own soul growth path, whatever that takes, whatever shadow we have to transmute the energy of into a higher frequency. The sticking with it is also what brings the reward at the end of learning that lesson. What we're really talking about here is this Leo solar eclipse is a marker for our path to ego death, basically. Ego death in the sense that we are on a path to realize that we're not separate. Ego wants to separate ourselves from others, from our environment, separate us out, and so that we feel alone, for example. We are on a path to ego death with this Leo solar eclipse. And on the next 10 years, likely this will be highlighted because in 2036, I looked it up, we have 3 eclipses in Leo that particular year. So that seems to be a culmination of this work that we are now initiated into at the deeper level in 2026. This is really an invitation to going deeper with that heart-centered living, heart-centered way of relating, that reference point within ourselves that we are reconnecting with and shifting from a more mental, logical reference point that we have applied for so long into a heart-centered way of relating to one another, but also to our life in general. So we are invited now to embody this trust and compassion that comes through a heart-centered way of living and sticking with it. This is an invitation to, over the next 10 years, and of course, there will be sub-milestones to this, but I see this focus on the sign of Leo here at this solar eclipse as a window to the future of where we're all heading. And the next 10 years, of course, culminating in these 3 eclipses in Leo in 2036, it's going to be quite a ride. And for those who feel kind of impatient here, one of the qualities of the sign of Leo is patience and strength. And this is also what we're invited to tap into over the next number of years, because nothing will be a quick fix anymore. The mind, the ego, wants to make up these quick wins that we so easily grab with our mind and say, hey, I have the next solution here, and it's only going to take me 3 months. No, the sign of Leo is the patient inner strength and courage that it takes to walk our path here on Earth. And this Leo solar eclipse is really highlighting that by the support from a higher frequency, such as Lepus-Nihal fixed star. Are you curious about your own galactic alignments? Download my Galactic Alignments Reference Guide. There's a link in the pinned comment and description box below. What you'll receive in this video are 3 energetic themes that I've pulled out from the Leo solar eclipse chart. And also at the end, a couple of questions should you want to integrate this Leo solar eclipse energy some more. Before we go into the solar eclipse chart here, I'd like to share what the energetic themes are for this Leo solar eclipse. The first theme I've called sixth dimensional guidance. And here we're going to talk more about the solar eclipse and also Lepus-Nihal that is beautifully supporting this Leo solar eclipse. The second theme I've called taking action on abundance. And here we're going to talk about Orion-Betegeuse and also another basket formation that is coming into place now. We have talked about the basket energy for a while now, but there's another basket that we want to take a look at as part of this Leo solar eclipse. The third theme is the ignition of sovereignty. And here we're going to take a higher view on the Kuiper belt objects and what they are guiding us to at this solar eclipse. We have Varuna, we have Makemake and Quaoar that are giving us a significant guidance of mastery because there is a triple 11, 11, 11, 11 code within this solar eclipse chart that we're going to talk about in energetic theme 3. And in the members only video, I called it Venus leadership because Venus has a continued leadership role in the path forward. And I'll show you what I see here. There are primarily a mystic rectangle that we're going to examine as part of this chart. So in the members only video, we'll talk more about Venus and her prominence in leading this energy. And we are also going to talk about a double basket that Venus is part of. So if you're curious about the membership on this channel, click the join button and join one of the 3 levels that I offer. The members only videos are starting at the galaxy level. So I welcome you into the membership. This month, I also offer a 30-minute special limited time reading, Path to Inner Flow. And I feel that this theme is very significant, especially for this Leo solar eclipse. We're examining also the role of the Orion constellation and Mars's transit through the Orion constellation, which is finished by the time of this solar eclipse. And in addition, Venus is squaring Mars during this period of time as well. So there's a lot of guidance that can be drawn from Mars's transit in Gemini, and also the parallel square between Venus and Mars. And this square between Venus and Mars is going to come back in October. So this reading will give you a path to flow because part of it is also that we are harmonizing masculine, feminine energies within to come into sovereignty. And there's a link in the pinned comment and description box below for scheduling that special limited time reading with me. All right, let's dive into the Leo solar eclipse chart next. So here we have the Leo solar eclipse chart. And as you can see, this new moon with the sun and moon together there at 20 degrees of Leo is also, there's a lot going on in the sign of Leo, as you can see in this chart. And we're going to talk about all of it. The sextile here to 20 degrees of Gemini and Lepus-Nihal is the closest alignment to a galactic alignment at this Leo solar eclipse. So I chose to emphasize Lepus-Nihal this time because a sextile is often in galactic astrology seen as a very supportive energy, but also from an external standpoint. Trines often are interpreted more internal if we look at us as human beings. And what that may mean is that Lepus-Nihal's sixth dimensional guidance is in full support of this Leo solar eclipse energy. And we'll talk more about Lepus-Nihal and what Lepus-Nihal energy is associated with. But this sextile linked into the cusp between second and third decan of Gemini is significant because, as you can see here, Mars is now in Cancer after having been in conjunction with the Orion constellations since July 21st, when Mars first was conjunct the first fixed star in the Orion constellation, Orion-Rigel, at 17 degrees of Gemini, and then have transited since July 21st across the Orion fixed stars. And Lepus-Nihal is sitting there in the zodiac wheel in the middle of the Orion constellation. Let's talk a little bit more about this new moon solar eclipse in Leo through the first theme that I've called sixth dimensional guidance. So here we have the constellation of Lepus, just south in this image of the Orion constellation. And I've highlighted the fixed star Nihal there. Lepus is the hare, and a hare symbolically is often associated with abundance. But Lepus-Nihal in particular is often associated with blue ray indigo energy, very high frequency blue ray energy, and is often seen as a very guiding frequency of our times. So anytime Lepus-Nihal is engaged, we know that there's a pure, clear, sixth dimensional frequency available to us, very guiding for that solar eclipse new moon in Leo. And with that blue ray indigo sixth dimensional frequency comes also a heightened empathic type of energy, a guiding energy for us at this time. So the way we can harness this Leo force, this fire in Leo, is through activity when it comes to our empathic body. So that's some guidance there. With the Lepus-Nihal frequency also comes an increased attunement to our environment. And this is also guidance from Lepus-Nihal that we are invited to attune more to our universal flow energy, such as nature, to access, to harness a higher frequency within ourselves, to align our being with a higher frequency. So for you, if you have placements in your birth chart pointing to that 20 degree, whether it's Leo, Gemini, or anywhere in your chart, you will have an aspect to Lepus-Nihal, but also this Leo solar eclipse. And I would give it an orb about 2-3 degrees at most. You may also experience the alignment to come into sovereignty within through a heightened intuitive ability. So this is also what we're tapping in deeper into at this time. So yes, this Leo solar eclipse is a connection into a very high frequency blue ray indigo type of energy, and it's very supportive of that courage, that heart-centered connection that we receive through the Leo solar eclipse. And we'll talk more about the influence here of the South Node as well on the sign of Leo and what the importance is now for the next 18 months when the South Node is going to transit the sign of Leo and what that may mean for us. So going back to this chart, we can see that, of course, the moon will move quickly here, passing the South Node at 29 degrees of Leo. But the sun is important to monitor here because the sun will highlight that South Node placement on August 23rd. So that may be a great day to keep on your calendar because whatever we are reading from this Leo solar eclipse chart will likely be also highlighted on August 23rd in some shape or form when it comes to unearthing that power, that fire associated with the South Node in Leo here. Keep an eye on August 23rd and what is unearthed on that day because the sun will highlight it. And also worth to note is that Mercury, now at 5 degrees of Leo, will be conjunct the South Node on August 25th. So around there, August 23rd, 25th is an important time to keep an eye on, because there will likely be some unearthing of things that we need to transmute, whether it's shadow or whether it's an opportunity to step closer into that sovereignty, that courage, that heart-centered frequency within. Next, we have energetic theme 2 that I call taking action on abundance. And here we're going to talk about another basket that I found in this chart. And also, we're going to talk more about Orion-Betegeuse at 29 degrees of Gemini in this theme. So here we have energetic theme 2 that I call taking action on abundance. And if you recall from previous videos here, where we talked about the basket of abundance, which is highlighted here. And now at this Leo solar eclipse, Mercury is in the place of where Jupiter was back in end of July here. So we still have a basket formation in place, this historic energy comprised of the alignment between Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto there at 3 to 5 degrees, but also with Mercury now coming into 5 degrees of Leo. That basket is formed again. And I should say also that we have Uranus conjunct Hyadum 1 now at 5 degrees of Gemini. And Hyadum is this hub of life force that is an infusion of high frequency energy, almost like a cleanse, I feel when I tune into this, especially with Uranus conjunct. And we also have Pluto in retrograde now at 3 degrees 54 minutes, also now in orb back again with Aquila Altair at 2 degrees of Aquarius. This is also highlighting again the need for a higher perspective. Aquila Altair is the eagle's perch, basically that type of energy that is big, visionary, but also overseeing energy. And Pluto is back now in retrograde to connect with Aquila Altair, Aquila, the big bird that oversees everything. So this energy is also coming back online. Now, Neptune is still in opposition with Supergalactic Center at 2 degrees of Libra there. And that's a long-term transit, Neptune in retrograde as well. So Mercury now, as I mentioned, is helping to maintain this basket of abundance. But there is another basket in this chart, and I'll show you it on the next slide here. So here we have another basket formation and involving the nodal axis, now at 29 degrees of Aquarius and Leo, respectively. As we know, the south node is conjunct Leo Regulus at 0 degree of Virgo there. So that's the ultimate reminder about that courage that we're talking about. Leo Regulus is the heart of the lion and is going to be very prominently reminding us about what it takes to be sovereign at this Leo solar eclipse. And the south node is in sextile with Mars now at 0 degree of Cancer, which is a cardinal initiating degree, conjunct Ceres at 0 degree of Cancer as well, conjunct Orion-Betegeuse at 29 degrees of Gemini. This is the ignition of this new phase of energy. Mars at 0 degree conjunct Ceres is linked into taking action on that abundance. And Orion-Betegeuse is associated with going from a very low frequency of, let's say, doomsday thinking, going with the flow in trust and hope. So this is a ignition point, definitely, as part of this Leo solar eclipse. And we also still have Chiron in retrograde at 0 degree of Taurus there, conjunct Andromeda Mirage. And we've talked about Chiron conjunct Andromeda Mirage before, but in essence, Andromeda Mirage is bringing the focus, the perspective of beauty, and how we are sometimes not focusing on what's beautiful in our lives. So this Chiron in retrograde is working with us to bring our different reference point to more towards beauty and that higher frequency of beauty in our lives. So this basket is so powerful because it is also a new beginning with all those zeros there at the bottom of the basket, and the 29s now are really is helping to culminate this ignition that we are feeling at this Leo solar eclipse. So this basket is super powerful because it really marks a new beginning. And in addition, the new moon itself is a new beginning type of energy, of course. So here we have Orion-Betegeuse at 29 degrees of Gemini. And also we have Ceres there. I pulled her out in her beauty and her focus on harvesting our richness within life. And of course, Andromeda Mirage there, conjunct Chiron, is a very similar energy. And Orion-Betegeuse in its higher frequency expression is that flow of harmony and trust. So this is a very beautiful basket, I feel, that is very guiding for the future. So this basket, formed now by the nodal axis and Mars, Ceres, Orion-Betegeuse, Chiron, and Andromeda Mirage there, also along with the nodal axis, a new beginning that is guiding us to focus on what we are trusting within ourselves. Trust that inner abundance, trust that inner harvest. And now it's the time to take action from that perspective. So even though we have that very foundational basket energy that Mercury now is activating again, we have this second basket as well that is very much associated with the nodal axis at 29 degrees and the zeros there of Mars, Ceres at 0 degrees, conjunct Orion-Betegeuse at 29 degrees, and also Chiron in retrograde, conjunct Andromeda Mirage at 0 degree of Taurus there. That is a powerful new beginning, an ignition of sovereignty. So that leads me into the third theme that I've called Ignition of Sovereignty. And here we're going to take a look at the Kuiper belt objects that are involved in this solar eclipse and what their guidance is. Makemake, Quaoar, and Varuna particularly. All right, let's dive in. So here we have the third theme that I've called Ignition of Sovereignty. And here is really where we are getting high consciousness guidance through the Kuiper belt that are orbiting beyond Neptune orbit, for example. I often use the Kuiper belt objects as a guide for what truly is going on, because it's the higher expression. Because, for example, Makemake there at 11 degrees of Libra is the higher expression of Uranus. Varuna at 11 degrees of Leo is the higher expression of Saturn. And Quaoar, for example, and Quaoar at 10 degrees of Capricorn is the higher expression of Jupiter. So there's a link into where, for example, Jupiter is in the chart by looking at Quaoar and vice versa. And what we see in this chart, I've highlighted Varuna. So let me share what I see here. We can start with Varuna. Varuna at 11 degrees of Leo, conjunct asteroid Psyche at 11 degrees of Leo as well. So here we have an 1111 code, and Varuna is associated with self-mastery. That type of energy where we put our own crown on our own head. And in conjunction with Psyche there, it helps us guide this. And in conjunction with Psyche, it is linked into our psychic intuitive mastery. And through that reconnection with our multidimensional self, our higher self, whatever we want to call it, we are also on a path to self-mastery. We also have another 11 code here. We have Makemake at 11 degrees of Libra. And also we have Quaoar in retrograde at 10 degrees, almost 11 degrees, 1058 in Capricorn there. So as if this wasn't enough, we also have asteroid Hathor at 11 degrees of Cancer, as you can see. So I've highlighted all of that there. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 we have a significant 11, 11, 11, 11, 11 code. And anytime we have placements that are aligning like this, showing a master number, it always means something significant, something magical is going on that we are meant to pay attention to. So let's break down this a little bit more. So what we have here is a T-square, first of all, between Makemake, Quaoar, and Hathor. And we'll talk more about each of these. I have some images I want to share with you. But we also have a Makemake sextiling this Varuna Psyche conjunction in Leo. And for those of you who are not familiar with the Kuiper belt objects, Makemake is the combination of ancient wisdom and how we are now applying ancient wisdom in modern systems in the days we're living now. So Makemake in Libra particularly is a force for balance to reconnect us with ancient wisdom and apply it to modern world. And Quaoar, there at almost 11 degrees of Capricorn, is spirit consciousness. She is embodying spirit through her body, her physical vessel, through dance, ritual, ceremony, all of that. And in Capricorn, it is also an embodiment that harness self-leadership. And in opposition here at this Leo solar eclipse with asteroid Hathor at 11 degrees of Cancer, Hathor is the ultimate goddess of pleasure and beauty in many ways. And Hathor in Cancer is extremely sensitive to her senses. This T-square is inviting us to embody our spirit in a deeper way. And also this sextile to Varuna conjunct Psyche is the more we can put our own crown on our own head is very supportive of this expansion that the T-square is suggesting. So the more we are tapping into our multidimensional self, bringing a new reference point to where our guidance comes from, the heart, our intuition, our deep sense of inner knowing, the more we are going to feed this expansion of what that T-square is suggesting to us. And now is the time, because that 11, 11, 11, 11 code is a significant sign. It's a significant sign for us to act on, particularly now also with Mars at 0 degree of Cancer. So here we have Makemake, Quaoar, and Varuna. I just wanted to show you in comparison with other celestial bodies here that we may talk about in other videos. So these Kuiper belt objects were discovered in the 2000s. So they are fairly recent in their discovery, which often is interpreted as when we are discovering let's say a dwarf planet like Makemake, Quaoar, or Varuna, we're also ready for the consciousness that they represent. I also pulled out a couple of images that you can tune into when it comes to Makemake there, bringing that ancient wisdom into relevant systems that works in modern world. Quaoar with her embodiment of dance, ritual, ceremony, and Varuna with the crown on top of her own head, and Hathor as a symbol of ultimate pleasure and beauty. I also want to share something about the members only video here. Venus will be transiting Makemake, by the way, on August 19th there at 11 degrees of Libra. But at this Leo solar eclipse, she is at 5 degrees of Libra, conjunct the supergalactic center, and also in opposition with Neptune in retrograde there. I consider Venus being the true leader of the times we're in, because she is connecting with Mercury at 5 degrees there in a sextile. She is connecting with Uranus conjunct Hyadum, and she's connecting with Neptune, of course, in an opposition, and Pluto conjunct Aquila Altair. So all of these she's in connection with and communicating with, and this is significant. So we're going to in the members only video, dive deeper into Venus's leadership here at this Leo solar eclipse and also her path forward. So yes, this theme number 3 is really a master guidance around what it takes to come into sovereignty. And it's really an ignition at this Leo solar eclipse to begin to go deeper with our focus around sovereignty and what that means for us and what that means for us individually. And we will see also expressions in the collective where we are not in sovereignty, respecting the individual truth in the collective. And that's very much what a sign of Aquarius is about, to honor the individual as a unique being, as part of a collective. And this is a theme over the next 18 months where the South Node in Leo is going to emphasize that reconnection with our own inner sovereignty, our inner peace, our inner wisdom, all of that alongside the collective and how we are honoring individuals, unique individuals as part of our collective. And this may feel like a lot of turbulence, but ultimately the reward at the end may be increased freedom, both individually and as a collective. And if you're curious about your own path to flow, schedule my special limited time reading, Inner Path to Flow. It's available to be booked until August 31st. And after that, the link expires to book. If you feel that you would like some personal guidance around all of this around this time, schedule that reading with me. Are you curious about your own galactic alignments? Download my Galactic Alignments Reference Guide. There's a link in the pinned comment and description box below. All right, are you ready for some questions? I have some questions here should you want to integrate this Leo solar eclipse some more. The first question is around this sextile to Lepus-Nihal and the support that Lepus-Nihal energy is bringing in for the solar eclipse. High level. And my question is, how are you tapping into higher guidance for yourself? And if you're not aware of who you're working with in the spirit realm, this might be a great time around this solar eclipse to tap into and listen to guidance that is available to you. And if you would like help with connecting with your guides, it's an option within that reading for me to connect you with your guides. Some simple guidance around intuitive development is to allow yourself 10 minutes a day with a notepad to channel. Everyone can channel whatever comes down and write it down on that notepad. The practice here is to not allow any editing or questioning what comes down on the paper, and it's a practice. That is the most fundamental guidance I can give you around intuitive expansion and intuitive reconnection, because there is a lot to learn from your higher self, your guides, through listening and also letting the ego take a step back and rest a little bit. That is one of the biggest shifts that happened for me, that I allowed myself to remove my ego when I was bringing my thoughts together. That practice has been one of the biggest shifts for me in my own intuitive development, where the ego is removed from the flow of energy coming through to start. The second question is around the Varuna energy and self-mastery. How we are embodying our spirit, for example, is very personal. It's not something we can look at everybody else on how they're doing that. What my question is for you is, what feels natural to you to embody your life force? When you tap into something that is joyful for you, whatever that may be, small, big things, and often it's the smaller things that really is the ignition of our evolution. So how are you tapping into what is joyful for you, and how can you take action on that, bring it out, create something, and allowing that energy not just stay as a thought, but actually become manifest. Now is a great time with this solar eclipse in Leo, particularly, and the Lion's Gate and all the things that we have with the focus on the sign of Leo, to connect with that courage within, to be your unique self and bringing it out in the open. The third question is, what is the one thing that you want to take inspired action on at this time? Write it down and think about how you can chunk it down in small pieces so that it doesn't become so overwhelming. Because one of each of these little pieces will come into reality if you feel it's realistic yourself. So what is the one little thing that you can take action on that would bring you towards that empowered, sovereign self? Thank you for being here. I truly appreciate your presence here on my channel, your support. I encourage everyone to leave a comment with your experience of that Leo solar eclipse that we're in for, but also what is your inspiration at this time? And if I can be a small part of that inspiration, I've done my job. So thank you for being here all the way to the end. Schedule a reading with me or join the membership here on this channel. You can also receive a lot of inspiration from my book, Wisdom Beyond What You Know, where there's exercises, coaching questions as part of each of the chapters there if you prefer self-study. So there's a whole host of resources available to you. Visit my shop. There's some powerful online offerings there that is available to you. And I'm here. I'm here to support this shift. And Leo solar eclipse is a great ignition of sovereignty. Thank you for being here. See you soon again. Bye-bye.